In this video, I want to talk about off-road recovery gear. And first, I want to talk about Factor 55. This company is known as a high-end company. They're really expensive. They offered these books on their website, and I thought, maybe I should check these out. They had them listed for $5 each, so $10. They're more of a pamphlet than they are than a book. Somebody on a forum said, these are awesome books. And I thought, okay, they're awesome, right? Let's have a look at them. One, this is very basic information for winching. And I'm going to give you my review. They're a piece of shit. They're garbage. They actually charged me $20 for shipping. I paid $5 a pamphlet, not a book, and they charged me $20 for shipping. I'm like, are you kidding me? When I buy a book off eBay or any place, usually they ship by a very cheap shipping method, which I think is $1. Is more so what it is. So I want you to consider that for a moment. If Factor 55 is willing to charge their customers $20 for shipping, then what does that mean when you buy shit off them? Is that shit any good? People say it's good. People say it's the best. I mean, you buy a bag and 4 or 5 items off them, it's like $500. Are you like crazy? And then inside here, they're advertising some company, I guess, in California, about go take a course and learn about off-roading. And I went and looked at the website, and it was like $800 to learn how to hook up a vehicle. I'm like, are you kidding me? I think it's in California. I mean, I was just like, I felt like I was being scammed so bad just by buying 2 books. It turned me off from ever buying anything off this company again, Factor 55. And if you see this video, this was a total ripoff. And if you don't know it, then there's something wrong. I have bought things off eBay where I've bought 2 of the same thing or 2 different things from people on eBay at different times during an hour period. And then when it comes time to pack it up and ship it, they actually refund me part of my money because there was no reason to charge me double shipping. These are honest people. These are crooks. And that's all there is to it. So let me talk to you about, getting yourself unstuck. When we had the storms, okay, my winch didn't come out because it was metal. I don't know what happened. The freezing rain freezed it, but my winch didn't work. I ended up using a strap the whole time. And I had a strap from TGL. Most affordable strap you can buy. I pulled out, 27 people. I pulled trees. It's looking like it's got a little wear on it now. And I was quite surprised. TGL is, I think, one of the cheapest places for buying off-road equipment. Now, let me tell you something. There is a difference between super quality and not super quality. If you are doing this for a living, or if you are pulling people on a constant basis, then yes, I think you need the more expensive stuff. But if you're doing it once a year, twice a year, on a weekend, then no, I don't think you do. You see, I switched over my winch to a synthetic, and took the cable out. Is what I did. And that was pretty easy to do. Now, because of that, I had to buy some other items. Like, for example, this year. I bought 4 of these. Now, I got these from a different company. They were like $14 each. You can go to these other companies like Factor 55 and these super expensive ones and spend $60 for this damn thing. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I call this a knuckle. And basically, it allows me to join 2 straps together. I have 6 of these. Now, you don't need as much as I got. I mean, I have quite a few tow ropes. I have some from a couple different companies. But most of the time, I use a 20-foot or a 30-foot 3-incher. That's it. And really, all you need is a 20-footer with a couple of these knuckles. That's it. And I think you should carry something in your vehicle to help pull you out. Because a lot of times, somebody's coming down the road, for example. I got stuck in a farmer's field, and I think I have a video on it. And he pulled over and he says, "You need some help?" I says, "I do." He says, "I don't have any rope to get you out, though." I said, "Oh, I got that. I got that stuff." He said, "Oh, you do?" I said, "Oh, yeah." So, I extended my metal winch at that time, and I hooked it up to a strap, and it was a TGL strap. And he threw it over the ball. And I was like, God, we shouldn't do that. But I didn't have a thing at that time to take his ball out and put a proper one in. And I was like, well, if I tell him that, then what's that mean? I'm stuck here? I got to pay for a tow truck? I was like, damn. So we went ahead and did it. And thank God the ball didn't break, come back and hit me in the windshield. And it got me out. Now I do carry an extra metal thing with the hook on it that anybody can take and slide it in and not use their round ball. I'll have a link to it at the bottom. But it made me more, each time I've used my winching system, it's made me more aware of what's going on, and safety is a big part of it. But sometimes desperate times call for desperate measures. There was a guy, he had parked behind my truck during that snowstorm, ice storm. And he just spun. He had 2-wheel drive. He didn't have 4-wheel drive. And I was like, why did you park behind my truck? The neighbor next door has a 4x4. He came over. He asked me, you want a hand? I says, yeah, we're going to get him out. So he did what I told him to do. And again, we just hooked it to a ball. Not supposed to do that. But we weren't pulling hard. Literally, this guy was sitting on flat ice, and it was just a little hill. We couldn't even push it. It really did not require much to get it out of there. And he was just spinning. So we hooked up my TGL rope thing again, my rope. And I said, pull really light. That's on his ball. You don't want to jerk that off. He says, gotcha. So I directed him, and he pulled it really gentle, and it came off the ice onto the road. We really didn't have to pull very hard. So in that case, we kind of did it that way. But you'll find that as you get into getting yourself out of a mess, it can get pretty expensive from some of these companies. I mean, Factor 55 has some fancy hook that everybody's buying for $300. I don't know why. I think people like to spend money. I really do. It's not worth $300. Okay, these things are made on machines. It's just an over-advertised marketing company. And as soon as I got the bucks and they charged me $20 for shipping, I was just, yeah, we're not buying anything from these guys. They're a bunch of crooks. And I don't care what anybody says. That's how I feel. I bought a few of these. I mean, these are aluminum. They're very smooth. It's made for synthetic rope to go inside. So why 3? I bought 3 so I could winch behind me. So literally, the winch comes out in front of me. I put a strap around the tree. This goes on. Winch goes through it. Out to the side, another bridle around the tree. Another one of these. Winch goes out behind it. And then back to the truck, and then I can winch myself out. So I would need 3 of these to winch backwards. Now, if I had 2 winches, or I had a winch that popped out and went in the back, great, but I don't. So that's the way I do it. And the more times I do lines, the more power I have with that winch, basically. And you can get pretty technical with a lot of this equipment. I mean, I've learned more off YouTube videos than off this bullshit. This shouldn't even be sold. So, you may think different. Now, you have to consider some things when you run this equipment. If you run a synthetic rope on your winch, then this is the stuff you buy. You can still buy this if you're using a steel cable and you're connecting a strap. So literally, let's say I got a TGL strap for 25 bucks. I connect this to the vehicle and then I connect the TGL strap to it. And then I connect the winch to the TGL strap without this. There's ways around it, but these you can still use either way. These you can't. These are strictly for synthetic rope. Now, you'll see people talk about a snatch recovery cable, which is kinetic recovery rope, is what you'll hear them talk about. And I bought a 1-inch, 30-foot long one. It has 30% elastic, which means the rope has a little bit of elastic to it. You can spend over $300 for one of those. I bought one that cost maybe 65 bucks. And it was called Guide Amps. Now, a lot of people would say, oh, that's probably garbage. It's not going to work. Look, understand something. A kinetic recovery rope, I'm not going to use on anybody else. I'm not going to spend my money to pull somebody out only to turn around and have to buy another one. Chances are that rope will be used maybe 10 times and be no good. And that's the difference between your $200 ones and your cheap ones. That is actually hidden in my boxes, and if all of a sudden I get stuck someplace, I'm going to hand somebody that rope if they offer to help me, and then it's going to have that kinetic energy, and it's going to 30% elastic, and it's going to get me out. I take care of my vehicle, right? But I'm not going to drive up to somebody stuck in a hole and sit back and say, hey, do you need a hand? You know, this stuff costs money. It's not free. Now, if I pull up on somebody and it looks like I can get them out pretty easy, and I say, okay, you know, do you want a hand? You know, out of my mouth is going to be the same thing. Well, you know, if I get you out, it's a $200 charge because my equipment costs money. You know, when they pull people out on beaches or Texas and these places, they're charging $450 a pop and higher is what they're charging. Now, if I go out with a group of people, which I've done before, you know, some guys that have 4x4s and we all go out, well, we're all working together as a team now. I'm using their equipment, they're using my equipment, we're working together. That's a different story. But complete strangers, no. If you were too stupid to listen when they said, hey, stay home, the roads are bad, and if you don't have the proper vehicle to do it, well, then you're going to pay. And that's just the bottom line. When I went out in the ice storm, I was using TGL straps, and literally I pulled out over 20 vehicles. I must have removed 30, 40 trees. I don't even remember. We cut them with a handsaw to take out half the weight. I hooked them up to the front, yanked them out, cleared the road. As fast as I took them out, as fast as they were dropping behind me. And I wasn't the only guy. There was like probably a good 60 of us out there doing this, which kept the roads open. And that was very important because you had, you know, older people, ambulance had to reach them. Ambulance had gotten grounded. They couldn't travel on the roads. So that was kind of scary. People at 4x4s were doing welfare checks. But since my winch wasn't working right, I thought, well, maybe it's time. So I went and upgraded my winch to the synthetic strap and got rid of the wire, which is supposed to be safer. I went and picked up these, picked up some of these. I even picked up another strap. I picked up the kinetic recovery rope. There's 2 more things I got sitting in my cart I want to get that comes in. But I don't know. If you think these guys are worth it, I don't. I really don't. Just because they made a different hook that costs $300? Nobody looks at your hook when you pull somebody out if you do it right. But don't pull from a ball. Literally, now I have the gadget to go in. But, you know, all the stuff they tell us not to do. Well, you tell me if you're stuck in a field and the guy hooks it in the ball and you look at him and say, don't pull, we can't use that. That's not good for safety. And the guy says, well, that's all I got. I guess you'll have to call and get a tow truck, which will probably take 2 hours. You know, I love it when people say things, but it's just not real life. If you want to make sure that you're safety wise, then you need to carry it because other people are not carrying it. This guy had a pickup truck. He didn't have any ropes. He didn't have any straps. He didn't have nothing. Because I had the stuff, he was able to pull me out. Now, if I would have had the big metal thing with the hook on it and we could have pulled his out, took the ball out, and then shoved mine in, well, now I would have been a lot more safer. And now I do carry that. But understand something. Unless you got it, you're not going to say no. You're going to want to get out. And that's just the way it is. Now, you could put the hood up on your vehicle and then have them do it. And if the ball comes flying back, it'll hit the hood. There's little tricks you can do. And that's interesting. Also, how you put the hook, it's upside down, so it hits the ground. Throw your coat over the rope. There's all these little tricks that you can do when you're doing recovery, is what you can do to prevent any form of accidents that are going on. But these two books from Factory 55, you learn more off YouTube. I mean, these are complete garbage. They really are. This is horrible, horrible restrictions. You would expect from a company that sells, off-road equipment, and they're supposed to be the best of the best, that it would be more than a pamphlet and it would be something of real, because after all, they got the money to do this, right? I mean, good Lord. Do they not go out on the trail with people? Could they not take pictures? Could they not? I don't know. I'm not impressed at all. It's too bad Amazon weren't selling, or I would have done a refund right away. Every now and then I buy some garbage that I think is garbage. You may think it's great, but I don't. Don't buy these books. And if you're going to carry some recovery equipment, I don't care if it's a car, I don't care if it's a truck, I'll put some links in the bottom. I'll tell you, this is what you need. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to be happy you did, and it's super affordable. And you're going to sit back and say, hey, I got a rope. Hang on, let me give it to you. And somebody will be able to pull you out. Yeah. I'll catch you guys on the next one.